Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I wanted to follow up on the official teaser that we got in the upcoming Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 12, which will be out on the 19th of this month, so expect full spoilers a couple of days from now, as well as another official teaser page from the official Naruto website. The review will be up on the 19th or the 20th, depending on when we get the translation, and my chapter review editor has had time to work on the chapter review itself. We're not going to rush to get it out. We're going to make sure we maintain the quality that you guys have had for the 11 chapter reviews so far. So based off of the official teaser that we got, we saw Boruto and he's using the wind release jutsu that has raised a pretty big red flag for myself and all the others who caught the jutsu he used, which is he used one of the signature wind release jutsu that Orochimaru has. I said a couple of days ago that this is a really good reason for us to start asking the question of should we reevaluate Boruto's time skip training, and I kept it short in that video because I didn't want to take away too much from the other information we had on the official teaser that the manga's official website released. But today I want to lay out in detail why I think this works pretty well in terms of the narrative for Boruto's character, and why I am completely on the opposite side of the argument of all the people who I've seen who are super annoyed that Boruto has learned from yet another legendary shinobi. So when we look at the narrative, the signs were there when we sit down and think about it and read the manga slowly. So in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, we see Boruto and Kashin Koji. They're in a hideout away from the village, and we look at the background, the walls, they match the snakeskin pattern of Orochimaru's hideout in Naruto Gaiden and the 7th Hokage in the Scarlet Spring. The walls, they have the snake torch holders on them as well. The aesthetics of the lookout, they look different just because one of them was drawn by Masashi Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto. The other one was drawn by Mikio Ikimoto, the current illustrator for Boruto's manga, with the key difference between the two art styles being that Ikimoto, he incorporates more elements of realism into his art, hence why when you look at how he draws kids 12-year-olds and younger, they tend to, when compared to Masashi Kishimoto, they tend to have rounder faces, and even with the backgrounds with, say, the tiles on the buildings and the way that some of the buildings are slanted, they use more realism than Kishimoto's work, which blended in aspects of Akira Toriyama's cartoonist drawing with the Dragon Ball writer and illustrator Akira Toriyama would use. While there are some differences, the general feel for the hideout is completely the same. Boruto and Koji, they were not randomly shown there for no reason, and in Boruto's manga, Orochimaru, he's been directly mentioned a handful of times, but we have yet to see him physically in the manga, and I do believe we're getting teases to start setting up that much needed physical debut of Orochimaru living, breathing in the flesh in the manga now, especially given the duality of the story when dealing with science and the Otsutsuki clan, two things that have been driven home very deeply in this Boruto era, which we will talk about later on in the video. So the knee-jerk reaction a lot of people here was to say, oh my god, Boruto's using the wind release gale palm jutsu, except for the fact the hand signs are completely different and the literal translation calls it wind release breakthrough. The other thing was to jump to the conclusion, hey, well, maybe Boruto learned this jutsu from Mitsuki at some point in the story of part 1. I personally don't believe this is the case, just because we don't really have any remote hints that this guy did any training after chapter 66 while inside of what I dubbed the horny house, where they're guarding Ada, the horny person, and Damon. The training they did after the Ishiki battle was chakra control training and non-combat training. Boruto was never listed with the wind release breakthrough jutsu in part 1, and in his battles, it would have made more sense to use that than the gale palm jutsu, since wind release breakthrough requires less hand seals than the gale palm, and it's a lot stronger than the gale palm, which he would have been behooved to use that when he was blocking Naruto to prevent him from allowing Kawaki to kill him. He could have pushed Naruto much further away using this jutsu and taken less time to do so. Sasuke does have wind release after he got the Rinnegan, and we don't have any confirmation that Sasuke learned this jutsu or he copied it with this Sharingan after he acquired wind release chakra nature. It doesn't matter if he saw the jutsu perform when training with Orochimaru prior to that, because Sasuke didn't have wind release, so his Sharingan couldn't have copied it. He would have had to have copied the jutsu after he got the chakra nature. Orochimaru, for those reasons, remains the most ideal candidate to have been the one to have taught Boruto the jutsu. The reason why I'm such a big fan of this is that it comes down to how we're building towards the story to the moment where Konoha is destroyed, and it's important to keep laying the groundwork for Boruto to continue learning what it means to be a shinobi. And I had some of you guys say, I don't see how we're building towards this moment, so allow me to break it down for you in detail. So that is not something that you just jump to the conclusion to right there overnight. It's been a major part of Boruto's journey, building towards this moment of him saying, I'm still a shinobi. So when you go back to part one, the majority of part one of the story was building up to the moment where he understood what both Naruto and Sasuke are trying to teach him early on, which is that a shinobi is someone who is willing and able to put their life on the line, give their life without any hesitation if need be, if it means it's for the betterment of the village. We spent a majority of part one where Boruto is building towards that moment where he lost his life when he fought Kawaki, where he willingly allowed himself to get killed. For the first time ever, he truly understood what it meant to be a shinobi who would die for the village, but he is still currently learning what it means to be a shinobi, two different things. Now we have Boruto, who's been forced to live a life where he is completely misunderstood. He's forced to shoulder the hatred of others. There are people who don't realize that everything he's doing is doing for their benefit, and it's all to get him prepared for his end goal, which is to be the shadow to the Hokage, the shadow to the fire shadow, if you use the translation of Shadow Hokage literally. Just being on the run from the village and protecting it from threats without getting any credit is only a surface level understanding of that role. There are several complex layers that go with it, and that's why the three teachers that Boruto has had over these last 3 years, seemingly, they are perfect to get him to this point. So let's look at Sasuke first. Sasuke is someone who was a victim of the shinobi system several times over. Sasuke is someone who not only lived in the shadows, but he was also deep down inside of him, so deep that even after being saved by Naruto, it still took him years of getting his head back right in order to come out on the other side after the war. And even then, he's still most comfortable in the shadows themselves. There's a primal need to a degree to operate under those circumstances. Sasuke told Boruto that in order to become someone who overcomes the challenges before him, he'd have to endure the very story that Naruto did, something that he said Boruto could do. If he was truly Naruto's son, he'd be able to do it. Well, look at where we are now, right now. Boruto is facing the challenge, and in order to overcome it, he has to know Sasuke's story and the details of Sasuke's fall from grace, and that starts and ends with Itachi, and I believe what we're seeing implies that Boruto is well aware of it. His interaction with Shikamaru, it drops a hint there. He is completely fine with the mission given to him to bear the cross of hatred for the village while he protects it, having an open kill order placed on him. Most people in the village don't know that Boruto's a hero. Boruto says he expects nothing different than what Shikamaru told him. A mentality like that is likely shaped from knowing Sasuke's story, and by extension knowing Itachi's story, because understanding Itachi's story is fundamental to understanding Sasuke's story, and learn why Naruto enduring as much as he did to save Sasuke is so monumental. He's been trained by Kashin Koji, someone who was viewed as an enemy of Konoha, when in reality Kashin Koji was someone who was working in the shadows to directly help Konoha. He didn't do it out the kind of his heart, but there were things that he did which were a direct benefit to the people of the village. He stopped Delta from going down there and killing the members of Team 7. He purposely didn't make a move as Naruto watched Kawaki, which allowed Konoha to inspect Kawaki's body, gain insight on the technology that Amato used to make the car enter cyborgs. He waited patiently to have the opportunity to kill Jigen, though Kashin Koji would later lose his battle when Ishiki was revived following Jigen being killed. The arrival of Amato in Konoha, it is a direct result of Kashin Koji, who used his animal summoning to get Amato into the village. And while Amato has been acting of his own self-benefit, Amato is someone who did offer some benefits to Konoha. Kashin Koji will never get flowers for everything that he's done, but it's another example and a lesson to Boruto that shinobi are tools, and tools don't always get the credit that they deserve. It's building on the lesson that Boruto learned from the battle with Ao, which that's also fitting given who was the person who Boruto saw after he defeated Ao. it was Kashin Koji. We're coming full circle. With Orochimaru, Boruto gets to learn directly from the legendary SAIYAN member who was the one who trained Sasuke. He gets to learn from someone who's seen the darker parts of the shinobi world, someone who is up for the running of being Hokage at one point, experimented on the craziest forbidden jutsu, has history with Boruto's grandfather, and is someone who is the embodiment of what the Boruto era is dealing with, which is science and ninjutsu and Otsutsuki. Orochimaru's science is being passed only by someone like Amato, and in some areas, like for instance cloning, he is beyond Amato in that area. He's done extensive research on the Otsutsuki clan. It's one of the primary reasons that Naruto kept his pardon intact when he became Hokage. He's the one who made the connection between the Byakugo seal and the Sage of Six Paths, a half-blooded Otsutsuki. He is a treasure trove of information, and he is someone who can provide Boruto with insight on how a fabled shinobi is able to fall from grace in his pursuit to cheat death, only to come back out on the other side. Each of these characters, they have something different and unique that they can show Boruto about what it means to be a shinobi, a true shinobi. It's not the same thing as being trained by a who's collection of shinobi in the Naruto world. I made the joke in the spoiler video that Boruto's basically collecting the infinity stones for the shinobi world in terms of getting trained by people. Here's the thing though, that means nothing in the grand scheme of things, even if you put the work in, or rather let me rephrase what I mean by that. So it means a lot less than fans think it does, because when you train with people of this caliber, you're learning more than just ninjutsu. That should not be the only thing you get from them. You're learning about their nindo, the very soul of what makes them their own unique individual shinobi. And that's the most important thing that I still see way too many people overlook when they talk about the Naruto world and the master and student relationship. Passing on your will of fire, it is more than just passing down your jutsu. It's passing down the very elements of what makes you a shinobi, and your students take those things into their own. Boruto needed this in order to truly be able to stand in front of Kawaki in the battle that takes place on the Hokage monument, because of what it symbolizes. The stone faces of each Hokage that's destroyed. They are each, all 7 of them, the strongest Kage out of the 5 Kage during their era when they were Hokage. And fighting on top of the ruins of the strongest ninja village, that was not done by mistake. Boruto needed all of this in order to truly be able to declare to Kawaki, I'm still a ninja, which makes that so poetic, almost as poetic as the importance of the dragon gods from Fairy Tail 100-Year Quest, which this video on the left breaks all that down. And over here on the right, we got the Boruto spoiler video for those of you guys who have not seen it yet.